Then we'll move on. So we have talked about string buffer, string builder. We have also talked about mutability, immutability. Now we'll move on to one more idea. So this is about inheritance. We are back to our old story of inheritance. Now this is very important. Now we are going to talk about what is the meaning of this word final. Now this word final again in Java has been heavily used for various reasons. Okay? Similar reasons, but you have to understand where it is used. Okay? So I would want to start this discussion by looking at string documentation. Just go to string class once. You will see that string class is final. Can you see that? Public, final, class string. So string class has been made final by the Java designers. What does it mean? That you can't create a class which can derive from string class. All classes otherwise, lot of classes otherwise, you can derive from these classes. But string class, you cannot derive from string class. It is frozen. Now the reason to make it frozen or to freeze it is very important to understand. They said by making a class frozen, what happens? Let's come back to this. First, let's design a class which is frozen and then let's try and understand. Okay? Day 9 Java Lab 2. Okay? So we're going to play with final. And watch carefully what is final and how does it work. Okay, public class test. No, first let's design a class. We'll test it here. Okay, class, let's call it class base for lack of any other name. Class base, it has a method called M1. So while M1, okay, and we'll mark it as M1 of base called. So system.out M1 of base called. Okay, we have this method. Then what are we going to say here? Okay. Then we are going to create class derived extends base like in any inheritance. Okay. Public. No need for public, it's not an interface. Interface methods have to be marked public for sure. Again, there is nothing wrong in saying it, even here. So, M1 of derived called. Okay. So, we have base and we have derived. Okay. Now, we are able to create this class, we are able to do all of that. Okay. Now just think a bit. We are not going to do this example, we are going to adapt this example. So this is pretty trivial. I have a base, I have a derived, I can create an object of derived and call the method M1 on it and the method will get called. Correct? Now, what if I were to tell you that for some reason I want to freeze this class base. Okay. This code will compile, by the way, as of now. I want to freeze this class, which means what? That I believe this class is complete in all ways and I will not allow any class to inherit from this class. Now you'll ask why? Isn't that the essential property of object orientation, that if I want to build a better class, I should be allowed to inherit from an existing class? That is the foundation of object orientation. What are you saying? I went into object orientation because it allows me this ability that I have a class which more or less meets my requirement. I can now create a class which extends from this class, adds or makes some small changes and use it. That is why I use object orientation. Now you are saying I cannot inherit from a particular class. Why would you want to do that? There are some reasons. One of the reasons is, I'll just write a line, couple of lines, okay, and I hope, I'm writing 2 lines in Java, underline. I want you to catch what may go wrong. You have to be very smart. Watch. Some of you will be smart, I hope. Java. String. Yes. Okay. Very simple. Now I am going to make a statement. Listen very carefully. If you are really smart, you will catch. There is something, I will make a statement that line SOP is an extremely, or even the first line is an extremely dangerous line. I am going to say that line S or the next line are potentially explosive lines. Yes. I'm sorry. So it won't work. It will work. If it won't work, it would be dangerous, no? If it won't work, it won't be dangerous. It won't work. Something very dangerous. Yeah. No, okay. So, what's dangerous?
It depends the reference of the string object.
So what?
Instead of the KMIT will get
Not dangerous, no? Something else, but not dangerous. It's very dangerous. I think some of you, at least the gentleman there, recognize, and somebody here also, that this is not the string class. I tried to make it, this is a small s. This is not string class. What I have done is, I have said class string extends string, and you know what I have done? I have overridden almost all the methods, including the constructor, which I am not putting the parameter, you can put the parameter. Now, this string which I have created, which is not much different, string is anyway small. So, Java guy coming from somewhere else, what do you think? It is string class only of Java. It is behaving exactly like the string class of Java. It is inherited from the string class of Java. However, what is this doing? Whenever you create a string, in addition to creating a string, it is also having internally code, because it's our class, we can do whatever we want. To the outside world, to the untrained eye, it will appear as a regular string class, and the way people will use it is, they will create a string class exactly same like our original string class. Whatever strings are getting created in it are getting copied somewhere else on the network. Correct? So you assign your username and password to it, it will faithfully replicate it somewhere else. Internally, because I am controlling the code. Now, why is this happening? If you realize why is this happening? Because this class could inherit from the regular string class get all its behavior. Wherever string class could be used, this S can be used. Because wherever base class reference can be used, derived class object can be used. So it can be passed to n number of code, it can be passed to databases, it can be passed anywhere, because it is a derived class of string. Remember the rule in any object-oriented language. Wherever base class reference is used, the derived class object can very well be used in its place. So, see, you know how this code is, this is a real life situation. How is this code created? On the network you will have sites which give you very nice code. So what do? You like that code and you feel that code is very useful to you. So most idiots, what they'll do? They'll blindly copy that code, put it in part of their software, and there you are. So when this is very often done using platforms like Stack Overflow, using well-published platforms to give you nice code. So by its very definition, at some point this borrowed code is based on string. Because it is derived from that capital string, once whatever things you create with this string, they can be passed wherever regular Java is used. And that is one of the reasons why Java was very particular that some of these crucial classes like string class, which is I will say the primordial class, the most important class in Java, they said if we allow this to be inheritable, we cannot do that. So they made a concept in Java called final. This was not there in C++. Because till then people had not understood that different ways people have become smarter over the time. They know. Have you understood this trick? Does everybody understand this trick? This is a very common trick. Same time, it will get passed all over in the program, and you have to see, for a person who is going to trick a system, he has to get lucky only once, and he has got inside, right? So this is a very common trick done. There are many tricks in code which over time you have to learn. Some people learn, some people don't. Okay? So this is, how do you avoid this situation? You make your original class final. If you don't want it to be inherited, because you can think inheritance will lead to misuse, or sometimes you don't want to inherit for performance reasons also. One is because of security reasons. The second reason is performance. Because the moment you inherit and you are using derived class, automatically, because it has to check polymorphism and all, it becomes slower. So that is for performance reason. Whatever the reason, whether it is security or performance, both reasons are important, because whenever you are inheriting, you see, when I am calling a derived class method, when I am calling a method on the derived class, it has to check whether this method is in the derived class. If it is not there in the derived class, it has to check in the base class. If not in its base class, so all that check has to be done. So in order to avoid that, for certain piece of code, they say no inheritance only, because we want speed, we want performance. And second problem, more important, I told you, is the problem of security. So we make a class final. Again, the story. C++ didn't have this concept, and C++ got hammered because of this, that you don't have a way to stop inheritance. Anybody can inherit from anything. Then C++ created its own idea of, if you see Unreal, they have a special word called override. You have to say override, then only they will allow it to derive. Simply by saying extends, they will not allow. In C++, how do you stop? Sorry, not in C++, in Java or further languages, C#, how did you stop inheritance? By using a word called final. In C#, the word is not final. What is the word? They use a better word, sealed. S-E-A-L-E-D, sealed. That means this class is sealed. You cannot inherit from this class. I think that is a better word than final, but Java uses final. So let's see the effect of final in the code. So I mark class base as final. So the moment I mark the class as final, okay, what happens? This code won't compile. Okay, you watch. Okay. As expected, it gives an answer, it gives an error saying class derived extends base. It says no, you can't extend from base. Base has been already sealed off. Base is final. You cannot derive from base. for reasons of security and performance. So that is an error. You can never derive from a final class. Okay, just so that you understand this better. Okay, let's comment out derived. So that error is not there. Just comment out the whole class derived for a moment. I just want to ask a question. Okay. Then let's add the word abstract on the first line. Do you think, can you see the contradiction there? Stare at it. Ah. Why?
Because the abstract is something which we want to check.
Good.
We make final.
Can you see the contradiction? One guy caught the contradiction. Can it ever be possible? Can a class which is abstract be marked final, or a class which is final be marked abstract? Because I'm just written it to show you the contradiction there. When you say a class is abstract, what are you trying to say? The class is incomplete and it has to be completed by its derived class by either implementing the methods which are abstract or whatever, correct? On one side you are saying my derived classes should implement and fulfill the unfulfilled agenda. On the other side I have also added a word final saying I cannot have derived classes. So these things are called, oxymorons, as they say. Say that I have a contradiction in that line itself. How can you be simultaneously saying my derived class should complete it by using the word abstract, and by using the word final I cannot have derived classes, right? So the Java compiler will throw it out right there. So let's see what the Java compiler has to say. Now we are just having that class, so there is nothing else which is stopping it. So yeah, you can see the error, and the error is very clear. He is saying illegal combination of modifiers, abstract and final. In short, what he is saying is abstract and final can't go together. They cannot happen together. Either you mark a class as final, then it cannot have derived classes, or you mark a class as abstract, then it can only be created in derived classes, right? Then whatever abstract methods are there. Achha. Now, just like a class could be abstract without any method being abstract, or whenever a method is abstract, we had to make the class abstract. Now, it is possible that, okay, so let me remove that abstract final. Let me also remove these two words, yes. Now my class base is there. Now, in class derived, let's enable class derived. Watch carefully. In class derived, okay, I have another method m2. Okay, similar to that, m2. Okay, m2 of derived called. Okay, now watch, just see. In the base class there is one method m1. Go up. In the base class there is one method m1. In the derived class there are two methods. One is m1, the other is m2. Agreed? Now, as it is, as I see it, there is nothing wrong with it. Okay, that error is coming from the earlier situation. Right now there is nothing wrong. It works. Let's just run it and check whether it works. Yeah. So as expected, it gives m1 of derived class because that is what it is pointing to because of the polymorphism of Java, right? m1 of derived class gets called. Now watch carefully. I have m1 in the base class, I have m1 in the derived class. Now Java allows me, listen very carefully, Java allows me to mark only a method as final. I need not mark the class as final. When I mark a class as final, what will happen? I cannot create a derived class. When I mark a method as final, what do you think will happen? Only the method cannot be overridden, but the class can be derived, all that can be done. I can extend from that class, all that. But if I try to override M1, it will say no, M1 is final in the base class, That is what will prevail. You cannot override that method. We will not permit you that to happen. So you can derive from that class because it is not a final class, but you cannot supply a new definition of M1. We will not allow that. So just see this and watch it. So now I have M1 in base class, but it is marked as final. So now the Java compiler will complain and say, you can't have this M1 in derived class and it is marked as final in the base class. So a final method cannot be overridden in the derived class. Just watch. It will give an error saying overridden method which is in derived is final in the base class. So it cannot be overridden. Have you understood? Have you understood the difference between final in base class? The base class being final, then no class can derive from it. But now the base class is not final. It is not a sealed class. Only a particular method M1 is final. So that is prohibiting prohibiting overriding of the method. You can use that M1, no problem. In derived class, I am still able to call M1, no problem. But which M1 will always come? Base class. There cannot be a derived class M1 because the M1 of base class has been marked as final. Okay. Now we have seen final at the class level. We have seen final at the method level. There is final at the variable level, which is, in CPP we have the word const. To make a variable constant, cannot change, can be assigned only once. That is called final. Okay. Now watch final as a variable. Okay. So we will say final int I small I equal to 5. Now, I try to say in M1, remove that final. Okay, in M1 I try to say I equal to 6. Okay, let's see I equal to 6. Let's see what happens. Okay, it immediately gave us an error saying cannot assign a value to a final variable I. I cannot take I equal to 6. Is this clear? This is how you make variables final in Java or constant in Java. If you want value not to change, if you don't want it to be assigned. But there is a small trick. Okay. So let's just say final int I, just that. Okay. And then we'll say I equal to 6. Let's see what happens now. We have not assigned a value like we did in the earlier case. Okay? Yeah. Still, cannot assign a value to the variable final because it is marked as final and it will automatically take the value 0 because it's an instance variable. No, yes. By default it took the value 0 and I am not allowed to change the value. Okay? Now, see one more thing. I will have in M1, go up in M1, just say final int, I can create final variables locally also, inside the method also. Okay, final int j equal to 7, final int j, okay, and j equal to 7. Is this okay? You have to understand the difference. Is it okay, not okay? Do you understand the difference? Earlier final was an instance variable, belonged to the object. Because it was an instance variable, automatically Java gave it a default value. But now that j is a local variable. By default Java will not give any value to it. Okay, let's see whether this has a problem. Okay. No. That final int, that is not initialized. Usko initialize करें. No, sorry, yeah. Go with that. We'll check it in a moment. Yeah, this versions don't. Acha, now there is no problem. Okay. No, I made a mistake. I forgot. Acha, final variables have to compulsorily be given a value during instantiation, during creation. I just said they will take a value 0. That is true for other instance variables, not for final variable. Final variables have to be given a value. Okay. So if I don't write final int I equal to 6, the compiler is going to crib. Is going to say final variables have to be given a value. Okay. But that is not the discussion currently. You see line 4, I am creating a final variable, I am not giving it any value. But because it's a local variable, it can be given value once. Now see what happens. I will say line 5, line 6, j equal to 8. Just watch. I have two lines, j equal to 7 and j equal to 8. Okay. Watch. Now you will say j is equal to 8 has a problem, but j equal to 7 never had a problem, and see the error. Variable j might already have been assigned, is already assigned actually. Go back to the code and you see line 6 has a problem, but line 5 never had a problem. Why? Because being a local variable, by default it never had a value. So even though it was a final variable, if it was a local variable, it can handle one assignment and only one assignment. Next time you try to assign, it will say I am already assigned, I am final. But final local variables can be assigned a value once after they are created. Whereas final instance variables have to be given a value when they are created. Okay. So look at line 2 and line 4 and line 5. Line 2, because it's an instance variable, it has to be given a value when it is created. Because line 4 and line 5, at line 4, j is marked as final, but it has not been given a value, it is accepted. Later value is given on line 5, but line 6 I can't work because I am reassigning a value 8 after it has been assigned. You understand the difference? You are done. So we will switch over, let's make you do something. So we'll stop this. Let's start. Okay, that's okay. So try this, it will wake you up. This is just to wake you up so that you stay awake. Try to read it, it's to deal with strings, little bit of work. It's about 11:30 now. I think 11:50 we'll start solving it, and we'll read the question and walk through the solution. Yeah. Pick any. Yeah, the question is, output is Boolean. We'll read the question. The letter value of a letter is the position in the alphabet string starting from 0. So the numerical value of some string of lowercase letter s is the concatenation of the letter values of each letter in the string, which is converted into an integer. So if we have ACB, we concatenate each letter s letter value, each letter's letter value, resulting in 021, and after we get 021, we have to remove that 0 because we shouldn't want leading zeros. So that you can do in the original string itself by removing the A's which are there in the beginning and then converting it. That is also one way to do it. So, for example, ACB will become 021, CBA will become 210, then CDB will become 231, and also what we have to do is we have to convert that into integer and see whether the target value is met. That is 21 plus 210 is equal to 231. So we are given two words and a target word, and we are asked to concatenate and check. Very simple. So let's see how some of us have done it, and okay, we'll see the code of a few people. Let's look at another approach. Okay. Let's see how this has done. This is better. So f value is 10 into previous f value plus n. But even here there will be an extra multiplication by 10 at the end. Will it? Yes. No? Here also there will be extra multiplication, but anyway in this problem it doesn't matter because everything is multiplied by 10. See, f value is, we should do this till the last. Okay, what I am saying is that the last value when you get, you should not multiply that with 10. Okay, so he is starting with first dot length, starting with each character. So the first character, second character, third character, but last should not get multiplied by 10. Earlier ones can get multiplied. Okay. Okay, something similar, converting it into string and then doing, okay, good. Let's see one more and stop. Okay, keeping it as character but concatenating to string. Okay, good. So he is keeping it as, he is keeping it as character. That is FARRI minus A will give you the integer difference, but he is converting it into character and adding it to str1. So basically it is a digit character getting added to str1 and then taking everything and converting entire thing into number 1. Okay, good. This is good. That means several of you are thinking and doing, which is a very good sign. It's very good. And so far I have not seen two things which are very similar to each other, which is also a good thing, and really it's a good sign. But whoever has done this get bytes, I hope you are sure that this will work only with English, okay? Because get bytes will start becoming dangerous the moment we start representing non-English strings. This won't work, isn't it? You'll have ASCII codes coming from some other language, so this won't work. Anyway, good. There is variety. Okay, we'll stop here.